Trump will save me and my husband a fortune. The words hung in the air, thick with a potent mix of hope and defiance. This sentiment, echoed by many, laid bare the driving force behind a political allegiance that baffled many personal financial gain. The promise of more money, of a fatter wallet, had become a siren song, drowning out the discordant symphony of moral transgressions and democratic erosion. These were not idle boasts of the ultra-wealthy, but the whispered hopes of everyday Americans lured by the promise of a few extra dollars in their pockets. Tax breaks, touted as a boon for the working class, became the ultimate justification. The moral cost, a secondary concern, if it even registered at all. This wasn't just about economic anxiety. It was about a fundamental shift in the perception of citizenship. It was the transformation of a sacred duty into a transactional relationship. The social contract, once built on shared values and collective responsibility, was being rewritten with the ink of self-interest. The allure of immediate gratification of seeing tangible rewards in the form of tax cuts blinded many to the insidious erosion happening at the very foundation of their nation. They were, in essence, trading their birthright for a bowl of lentils, unaware of the famine that awaited them. America, a nation founded on the ideals of liberty, justice and equality, was witnessing the unraveling of its own social fabric. The pursuit of individual gain, placed above the well-being of the collective, was chipping away at the very pillars that held the nation upright. Liberty, once a beacon for the oppressed, was being redefined as the freedom to amass wealth, regardless of the consequences for others. Justice, meant to be blind in its application, was now being bought and sold, with tax loopholes favouring the wealthy, while the middle class shouldered the burden. Equality, the cornerstone of a just society, was becoming a cruel joke, as the gap between the haves and have-nots grew into a chasm. This erosion was not happening in some far-off land, but within the heart of the nation, fueled by a political machine that thrived on division and discord. The very institutions meant to safeguard these values, the courts, the Congress, the media, were under attack, their credibility eroded by relentless assaults and accusations of fake news. The price of this apathy was steep, paid not in dollars but in the slow, agonizing death of a nation's soul. Healthcare, a fundamental human right, was being stripped away, leaving millions vulnerable and afraid. The right to vote, the cornerstone of democracy, was being suppressed, making a mockery of the very notion of representation. Climate change, a looming existential threat, was dismissed as a hoax, while the planet continued its inexorable march toward irreversible damage. Corruption, once whispered about in hushed tones, was now flaunted openly, a testament to the belief that power and money trumped all else. This was not the price of progress, but the price of regression, of a society that had lost its moral compass and was stumbling blindly toward the abyss. The pursuit of personal gain at the expense of the common good had become a Faustian bargain, with devastating consequences for generations to come. Section 4. The long shadow of self-interest. The examples were legion, each one a stark indictment of a nation that had lost its way. The Muslim travel ban, a blatant act of religious discrimination, was shrugged off as a necessary security measure. The separation of families at the border, a cruel and inhumane policy, was justified as a deterrent against illegal immigration. The cozying up to dictators and the alienation of allies were rationalized as shrewd negotiating tactics. Lies were peddled as truth, and truth-tellers were demonized as enemies of the people. The very fabric of reality was being distorted, with facts becoming subjective and truth a matter of opinion. Through it all, the refrain remained the same. But what about my tax cut? This myopic focus on personal gain, this willingness to turn a blind eye to injustice and cruelty, cast a long shadow over the nation's soul. It was a darkness that threatened to consume all that was good and decent, leaving behind a hollowed-out shell of what once was. Section 5. A call for true patriotism. True patriotism, however, demanded more than blind allegiance to a flag or a leader. It demanded a commitment to the ideals upon which the nation was founded, ideals that transcended party lines and personal gain. It called for empathy, for the ability to see beyond one's own narrow self-interest and recognize the shared humanity that bound all citizens together. It was time to stop asking, "What's in it for me?" and start asking, "What kind of nation do we want to be?" It was time to reject the politics of division and fear and embrace the values of unity and compassion. It was time to reclaim the soul of a nation, to rebuild the social contract based on shared responsibility and a commitment to justice for all. The road ahead would be long and arduous, but the future of the nation, indeed the future of democracy itself, depended on it. The time for complacency was over. The time for action was now.